Churches with Jess Lujan.
We're back with main studio guest speaker Tommy Tanaka, and of course, as a very concerned parishioner of Jonya and concerned parent and grandparent as well, and regarding what's happening with our Catholic Church. Speaker, before I ask you that question again in regards to what's happening to some of their churches at this point, but my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong with this, that if our local boys want to become priests, if they choose to want to stay here in Guam to be priests, they would have to subscribe basically to be taught under a neo-catechumenal way in regards to how they conduct their masses and all that. They don't have a choice.
No, see what's happening is that the Archbishop created another seminary, the Pope, Saint Pope John II.
Okay.
And that's in
Malolo,
right?
The former
Carmelite seminary, yeah. And
yeah.
that thing's run down, it's leaking, and it's a crying shame that we house our boys there, and then the outsiders are placed in first-class facilities, right? They go there for classes.
So they're basically still instructed by.
They're being formed by new instructors, all right?
You just happen to be sleeping in a different place.
That's right, and they're not even allowed to stay at the Axiom Hotel or the RMS. As soon as they complete their lessons, they have to leave. They can't even eat there. So there's two classes of seminarians now: our boys and the seminarians from NCW, who are housed up there at the Axiom Hotel.
And do we, I mean, we have 44. I don't know, how many of our boys are up there at?
We have 4.
4?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a total of 48, basically, when you add everything. I mean, 48, that, to me, actually, if you're a school for priests, I mean, you have two seminaries, and with a total enrollment of both of just 48.
And then you take into account there are only 27 parishes out here.
Yeah. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make financial sense anyway, as well.
It's pretty close to $1 million, and we don't. We've been trying to find out what is the percentage of support coming from the Archdiocese. But have you seen? Well, we have never received any answers from the Archdiocese. There's been many requests, and they all go in an inbox, and there's no return to get responses to our concerns. Nothing at all.
No feedback, and unfortunately, we can't. We as parishioners, we can't FOIA. It's a government within itself with its own rules.
That's true. But in responding to your questions, there are they're being trained as diocesan priests. But they're still being formed in NCW the neo way. So what do you think the product's going to be, right? And that's troubling because some people want to be diocesan, and they were given the choice to join the NCW seminary. They chose not to, and it's very discouraging.
Yeah. Now again, in what's happening, and of course they come out, they are part of the community. They're pastors of the different parishes, and there are some changes that are taking place within, again, what we Catholics grew up, and basically the church that we grew up. I mean, some are newer churches, new painting jobs and all that, but some of the statues that we see there were statues even when our great-grandparents were there. It rarely changes.
This thing happened in the parish of Santa Guadalupe, right? And the story is related that one of the parishioners got called early morning by the priest there, the parish priest there, asked him to come down because there's a miracle happening. What kind of miracle, Father? He says all the statues are walking out of church because the statues were lined up facing the exit of the church. And the other thing, that happened in that parish is that they wanted to remember that there were raising funds to raise the church. And the church was perfectly good. And one of the, I guess, people from Santa Rita says, okay, if we're going to do this, let's get a local architect. But they're not allowed to. They've got, everything has to come from a neo source. And I guess your question on your statues, according to some, they don't believe in statues, right? Because they consider them idols. And they resort to things like icons. You see in the church in Barrigada.
Yeah, yeah.
And that to me, it makes me very uncomfortable, for one, because I like to see the saint represented and what he looked like when he was alive, rather than icons, because...
Well, one of the criticisms the Catholics have gotten over the years is that we worshipped the idols, and which is not true. We don't worship the idols. These were, I guess, lifelike figures. So we representations, yeah. And so basically, they're taking that literally. They're taking that literally, and so now it's almost a big change from what we grew up on. So now, for what we looked at before as these were once real people, you know, and of course they represent, I mean, and they're not the ones really, because they're kind of like representatives as well of God, of Jesus Christ, right? I mean, and they lived amongst us at one time, you know, and a lot of times we're praying to God with, you know, Saint Vicente or Saint Anthony's intercession as well. You know, I mean, God knows I need all the help I can. You know, but that being said, so our beliefs, what we grew up as Catholics, we were taught in Escuela Pali, CCD, and all that, right? So all that is really changing, and I don't remember getting that memo that these things now are changing, that we're no longer allowed or we shouldn't be doing this. Did you get that memo?
No, I didn't. And the other thing that is troubling is you know, we don't know the worship, because you've got to have a special invitation, right? Oh. And it's very secretive.
So it's a secret worship.
So, you know, you and I can't maybe go to their mass, but where we can have peace, and this is what I would like to see from the Archbishop. He's got to respond. And he's got to address the needs of the 100,000 Catholics versus the 800 NCW members, and allow different. If you want to worship the way you want to worship, it's going to get you to heaven. Then do it, but don't bring it into parishes that are perfectly happy with our way of worshiping, because you're threatening our religion. You're threatening the future of our kids. Can you imagine our religion came from our great-grandparents, grandparents, or my parents, now me to my kids? Sure. And that's going to be clipped in a few short years.
I've said this, and we talked about this as well, you know, I mean, of course, when we look at other religions that come here, and great for them that they have, you know, their congregation is growing, but the Archbishop also has to take credit for this as well, that under his leadership, other religions have flourished.
Many more.
Have flourished over the years. And when you look at that congregation that they have, I would say a good percentage, if not the majority of the folks that are there are Catholic converts. Yeah. So I mean, you got you know, as leader, you got to take all that as well, right?
Shepherd has to be able to lead. You know? Otherwise, your sheep will go different places.
Yeah. And so my understanding as well too is they have separate masses. Really, I mean,
their holy day of obligation, I think, is Saturday, and they need a mass there, but they're obligated.
So Saturday is their seventh day.
Yes. And but they need to go to a parish church for Sunday mass at least once during the month.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't get that. I didn't get that memo.
Neither did I.
I mean, you know, as former senators, that's like going to caucus, right? Yeah. Nobody else allowed to.
But that, you know, that's perfectly fine. They want to do that, right? Sure. Just don't impose it on others who don't.
No. I mean, I go to church too, not just on Sundays. You know, sometimes the weekend I have time, I go to an early church, but it's not a substitute for Sunday.
Sure.
But when they consider their one day, when I guess their seventh day, or the one day is Saturday. So, I mean, I know we've been allowed over the years now that we can have, I mean, we can attend Saturday.
Which I do,
Mass.
right?
Yeah, myself as well, right? That takes the place of the Sunday, and basically the church changed because of the lifestyles we're living now, and a lot of people now, I mean, years before were everything closes down on Sundays. Now everything opens up 7 days a week. So the church was able to accommodate the lives that we're living now, basically, and given, you know, Saturday masses after a certain time, that again suffices for your Sunday obligation. But what you're saying is their Saturday mass basically is their Sunday mass.
It's their Sunday mass.
And that's their holy their obligation day.
In fact, you know, parishes that have new priests now normally won't have funerals on Saturdays because that's their holy day.
Really?
And you know, that's going against tradition that we grew up with. So a lot of people have been really hurt that they're not able to bury their loved ones on Saturdays.
On Saturday. Wow.
So.
Wow. Major changes.
Major changes.
Major changes, and great concern. I got to pay the bills again, and then we'll come back. We got to say goodbye, but thank you very much.
Thank you also for inviting.
We'll be right back.